So what is advertising and why is it so important? And first of all, the definition is really important because you have so many different takes and opinions and perspectives of this. If I can sort of state to you what I have come to sort of study advertising to be, what has been effective for me and some of the clients I've had the privilege to work with, you can then make the decision as to say, well, yeah, that's the kind of advertising that I'm interested in, and you can sort of carry on with this course. So first of all, advertising. There was a marketer, copywriter and ad man way back in the day called John E. Kennedy. And what Mr. Kennedy had defined advertising as was salesmanship in print. Now, if you think back sort of in the early 1900s, for example, the way people used to sell and the media that they had available to them was very different from what we have today. We've got radio, we've got television, we've got social media, we've got yellow pages, we've got all sorts of different opportunities. But back then that wasn't the case. Now, something that has never changed has been the fact that I believe that one-to-one selling is the most effective selling that one can do. If you can get in front of somebody and sit down with them, tell them a little bit about the product service program that you've got. More importantly, find out from them what's been frustrating them, what's important to them, what they would like to sort of move towards by acquiring what you have. That's very powerful, but we don't always have the opportunity to do that. So when John E. Kennedy described advertising as salesmanship in print, what he was saying we are in effect taking away the need to be there in front of somebody. We'll put it in print. Now, when you move forward to another gentleman who I studied quite seriously, and I mentioned in the first video, Gary Bencivenga. He was the first one who I heard say that advertising was salesmanship multiplied. Okay, so let's take a moment just to get those two concepts here. Number one, we've got salesmanship in print, and secondly, we've got salesmanship multiplied. And what that enables you to do is that if you can't in fact then sit down with somebody, go through your fact finding in order to be able to sell to them, you can get your advertising to do that. And the beautiful thing about it is that instead of just going and sitting in front of one person, it can be multiplied. You see, every organization, whether they like it or not, has an income producer, an income creator. I sit down with some business owners and I say, well, who's generating the income in your company? And he'll say, well, I am. And I'll say, but you are the one delivering the product. And he goes, well, yeah, I do everything, I do both. And we've all sort of experienced something like that to a certain extent, but this is where advertising can be very, very powerful. Because if number one, we want to make sales in print, and secondly, we want to multiply the ability to get to a lot of people. We want to be able to put our product, service and program in front of many people, often while we are doing other things. That is why advertising is very important. Now, where there sort of comes a bit of a fork in the road here is that some organizations and some agencies and some businessmen for that matter believe that the role of advertising is to get your name out there, to raise your profile, to create a bit of an awareness. All that will happen if you try and sell with your advertising. And while sometimes I'm not saying you necessarily have to be very blunt with it, whereas you've got an ad and you're just saying, well, look, this is it and this is how much it costs, although there is most definitely a time and place for that as well. The mindset that I really need you to have is that your advertising is salesmanship in print when you are printing things out and you're doing newspaper ads, but it's also salesmanship multiplied. The reason why advertising is very important for you is because it will give you an opportunity to sell to many without you necessarily having to be there. That is why advertising is very important. And in the next lesson, we're going to talk about the kind of adverts to craft, the big thought process that needs to go into each and every single advertising campaign you put together.